city that has many landmarks. That's Union Station here in Kansas City, and another landmark, and that would be Kauffman Stadium, just off Interstate 70, as the Cardinals take on the Royals in Game 2 of this 3-game weekend series. Good evening, everyone. I'm Wayne Hagan. Welcome to our coverage. The Cardinals are excited because Anthony Reyes has been brought here to start tonight. He will make his second Major League start. Of course, Albert Pujols not that far away from here. In fact, we could probably walk the mileage over to his high school, where so many people still talk about the great home runs he hit, the majestic home runs he hit. Better yet for you, we have Albert Pujols standing by with our Rick Horton.
Thanks, Wayne. Our pregame guest is Cardinal first baseman Albert Pujols. Albert, you're having such a wonderful year, but you've also been dealing with some physical stuff this year. How are you feeling today?
Well, I feel a little bit better today. You know, every day is getting better thanks to the trainer. They really preparing my body ready to go. But at the same time, you know, when I'm out there in the field, I don't think about any pain. The Lord has blessed me with ability and talent, and I just take advantage. You know, when I'm out there playing, I leave it up to hang and just play the game and forget about the pain.
One of the things I've noticed about you this year, Albert, is you seem like you're playing with a lot more joy. Not that you don't love this game, you've always loved this game, but you seem very relaxed in the midst of all these home runs, all these hits, all this national attention. Is that true? Do you feel a little bit more joy this year?
Well, definitely. At the same time, you know me, I don't play for those records. I don't play to hit home run. I'm playing to help those guys to win, and you know, and they give me some support every day, and my job is to go out there and perform. It doesn't surprise me what I'm doing right now because I've been doing it for 5 years right now. So why change it with what you do? When you do something good, you don't need to change it. So it's more relaxing, being more patient at the plate. That's one thing that I work real hard this offseason. I was talking with our hitting coach, Harma Craig, just to be patient. And hopefully, if I get my pitch, it's a pretty good swing like I've been doing.
One last quick question. Playing in Kansas City, what's it like to come home and play?
It's great, you know, just to see my friends and families, you know. I see my family, they come to St. Louis, but just my friend and playing in the town pretty much that I developed myself. I mean, I went to school here in Fort Osage. I went to Maple Woods Community College, and I got drafted by the Cardinals, and just it feels great, you know, and at the same time beating the Royals last night was a great game, and hopefully we can beat him tonight and hopefully tomorrow. But it's always good, you know, because at that time, I remember when that scout came and looked at me, and he missed the opportunity. So, but I'm pretty blessed and glad that I'm in the city of St. Louis, the best fans in baseball, and just doing my job and doing my best to help my team out to win.
Well, Cardinal fans are certainly happy for that. I appreciate the visit, Albert. We'll be back with more from Kauffman Stadium in a moment.
Thank you.
Cardinal Baseball on WB11 is brought to you by Budweiser. Bright, crisp, clean, pure. This is Budweiser. This is beer. By Dobbs, St. Louis's #1 choice for tires and auto service. By Chevy. See your Mid-America Chevy dealer today. By Steak and Shake. 24 hours a day. By Toyota. Visit your St. Louis area Toyota dealers. By American Furniture and Electronics, St. Louis's headquarters for HD TV. And by Southwest Airlines, with more flights to more places than ever before. We are underway here in Kansas City as the pitch is over for a strike to David Eckstein. Wayne Hagan along with Rick Horton and our Bud Productions crew here in Kansas City's Kauffman Stadium. And he's quickly ahead 0-2 is Denny Bautista.
Bautista probably has the best stuff, Wayne, of any of the starters on this Royals staff. He's battled injuries his whole career, 6'5". He's a big, tall guy with a good slider.
And to his left will be Blanco, just brought up in the minor league ranks, and his throw is right on the money. Our first pitch today was brought to you by your local Toyota dealers. That man sent it homeward. It was a strike, and Eckstein thus eventually grounds out, leading the team with hits, and 53 times he has reached safely by way of a base hit. Now it's Scott Spezio, who last night had 3 hits, and he is serving as the DH. And Rick, there isn't anything that Spezio's done that somebody wouldn't just scratch their head and say, wow, where'd this guy come from?
Well, he's had me scratching my head, I guarantee you that. When I saw him in spring training, I thought he had some holes in his strike zone. He is a switch hitter, which I think brings great value to the ball club, but he's done everything that he's been asked to do. Filled in well at third base, DHing today, and he really has been a threat with the bat, batting over 300.
This guy is inducing some ground balls. That one going 3 unassisted. And our Dobbs pitching matchup, Denny Bautista, all at 25 years of age, and he is a distant cousin of one Pedro Martinez and has learned an awful lot about pitching from his good cousin and good friend, and especially that overhand curveball.
Well, really, again, injuries has been his big problem as he faces the hottest hitter on the planet in Albert Pujols. But Bautista had a pectoral muscle strain early in the spring, missed a lot of starts. He's only in his fourth start here, but look for the hard slider and also look for him only to go 4 or 5 innings. He is not a durable guy.
Pujols goes first ball swinging on that fastball to foul it off. It is 20th home run here last night into right center field. Leads the major leagues with 50 RBIs. And the average at 319. He loves hitting here at Kauffman Stadium, hitting .412 lifetime in this ballpark. And we appreciate him very much for sitting down with Rick. We had a chance to listen to the joy of a man who probably could have turmoil at his feet.
He's enjoying it, isn't he?
Yeah, simply because he's not supposed to be able to enjoy all of the commotion made about him, but he handles it.
You talked about what he's leading the world in. Home runs, RBIs, total bases, slugging percentage, runs, and runners in scoring position, batting average. That's pretty much having a good year, wouldn't you say?
Keep him healthy. Keep him healthy. He sat out that game against the Mets in that matinee at Busch Stadium the other day and got him out of his 0 for 13 slump because he hit the home run here last night. An overabundance of Cardinal fans in attendance tonight. He had a chance to hit that pitch right there.
The only time he ever has any troubles at all is when he does lose his patience at the plate, but that's so seldom. You just don't see him do that from at-bat to at-bat. He credited Hal McRae for honing him in on that fact, and that is really what separated him this year, I think. He's so patient at the plate.
Royals struck early last night, had a 5-0 lead against the Cardinals, who staged their biggest comeback of the year and won it ultimately 9-6. It was great to see Chris Carpenter get some run support. And last night, one of those few exceptions, he needed the run support in a big way. Didn't pitch all that well, not up to his caliber. That's a long run in for the center fielder, but Costa's there. He made a good catch last night. He makes a rather easy one here. It's a 1-2-3, top of the first for Denny Bautista. We'll see about the Cardinals pitching and defense right after this. Royals starting lineups brought to you by Southwest Airlines. That man Buddy Bell at the controls, a manager who has gone through some tough adversity with this Royals team, but he got Shane Costa back. Played very well last night with a couple of hits, and we mentioned a fine catch at center field. And he's got some veterans with Grudzielanek and Reggie Sanders, Matt Stairs, and that man Anthony Reyes is making his second major league start. Last August he made one against the Milwaukee Brewers in Milwaukee and pitched very, very well. And his first pitch of the night is over for a strike. Rick, there are going to be some Cardinal folks in that third base dugout watching him very closely.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. He's a can't-miss prospect. The question's going to be, when's he ready? That's the changeup that he's so good at throwing when he's ahead or behind in the count. He is very much comfortable with that pitch. Good hard fastball. Kind of an average breaking pitch, but the fastball and the changeup are his bread and butter.
And he jammed Costa and is thrown out by the third baseman Scott Rowland, and there is one out in this ball game for Anthony Reyes. The biggest difference I could see as we look at the defense brought to you by your Mid-America Chevy dealers. See Rodriguez in left field tonight. Molina back behind the plate. The four-seam fastball was what you and I saw on display in Milwaukee last year. It's a little different story this year. They're trying to get him to work on that sinker. Not as easy as it sounds.
So it's much like the project that Jason Marquis was for Dave Duncan. He wanted him to throw two kinds of fastballs. The riding fastball that stayed up in the zone, we call that the four-seamer. It tends to hop, and Reyes has a very good four-seamer, but also the two-seamer that sinks and moves down in the strike zone. That pitch right there is a good complement. You can show two kinds of fastballs. It's like having another pitch. And Reyes is a guy that has probably a higher upside than Marquis in terms of natural ability. And it's just, again, a matter of getting him seasoning. I think the reason that Reyes was not on this team and Wainwright is they wanted him to get a lot more innings in AAA. And he's done very well since he left spring training. Not a great spring training, but he's had a good AAA season to date.
Only 5 walks. That's pretty amazing.
30 strikeouts. Great strikeout to walk ratio.
I like what you said, though. Can't miss. There's that breaking ball. Eckstein will have to hurry and gets his old double play pal over there at first base. And Mark Grudzielanek, an old friend who probably, with Eckstein making that play, will say something somewhere throughout the night to David Eckstein. And he probably will be the one all-star for this Royals team.
Well, that's the breaking ball from Reyes. And Eckstein showing his range. Never really gets a lot of credit for his arm strength, but he gets rid of the ball so quickly. Not a long arm action. He just flips the ball, and that usually saves a step or two. He's been so steady defensively this year.
Minkevich, a guy who has been around for a while, a very solid bat, left-handed hitter. But you don't see too many number 3 hitters in a lineup with no home runs. But he just 256. He's a very good player. That Red Sox ball club, in fact, he was the one who was able to take in that last out when Edgar Renteria bounced out and the Red Sox won in St. Louis. A lot of brouhaha about that baseball.
Kept the baseball, exactly. Well, he's always been a good hitter, but you're right. It really tells something about this Royals ball club when your number 3 hitter has no home runs. As a club, they only have 26. And, of course, number 5 has 20 for the Cardinals.
This one is bounced foul, first base side. On deck is Reggie Sanders following that man. Reggie hit a home run last night against Chris Carpenter. Minkevich talking to himself right now. He's a very good defensive first baseman. Fastball in on the hands. One thing about Reyes, you know he goes after people. How about the bill of the cap? And he does that purposely. One of the few guys I've seen in the major leagues who does. He said he started doing that at USC many years ago, and he just hung with it.
Cordero is another guy that does that.
Chad Cordero, good closer for that Nationals team. Anthony Reyes, yet another one of those USC Trojans who has made his way to the major leagues.
Interesting, the shadows here at Kauffman Stadium with the 6 o'clock start, a little bit different than starting at 7. That may come into play. Left fielder John Rodriguez is right kind of on the edge of the shadow and may be a difficult sun field for him.
That's going to be a base hit because Reyes didn't defend his position very well on that slow bouncer back through the box, and that is the game's first hit.
I think Reyes would probably like to have another shot at this. Once you throw the ball, you become a defender. And Reyes sees the ball off the bat, overreacts almost, thinking that the ball was hit harder than it was. And your first thought is self-preservation. And then your second thought is catch the ball. And I think he got caught in between those two thoughts.
There's a great guy in Reggie Sanders. You Cardinal fans know all about that. A thrill to have him for the 2 years. 2004 going to the World Series. Last year, another team that won 100 ball games. Had a little hamstring problem, a little leg problem this year. He's hit 5 home runs. He's driven in 18 for this Royals ball club.
He really represents most of the speed in this lineup, too. They don't have a lot of power, but they also don't have a lot of speed. Reggie with 3 stolen bases. And really, as a team, they've only have 12.
And at age 38, that's a blessing for him. That's a compliment to him, but not necessarily a great compliment to the Royals. And you notice that number that he's wearing is Bo Jackson's former number, who broke in with a bang back here with the Royals.
He was the loudest runner I've ever been around. When he would run from home to first, wow, was he noisy.
There's a leapy catch at second by Aaron Miles, one of the shortest guys on the field, but timed his leap perfectly. And he robbed Sanders of a hit. No score through 1 in KC. Southwest Airlines brings you the Cardinals starting lineup. We have progressed to the number 4 hitter in the lineup after the Cardinals went 1-2-3 in the first against Denny Bautista, and this is Scott Rowland. Yadier Molina batting in the number 8 spot with a designated hitter. Aaron Miles will bat 9th and play second base. He just made that nice play at second, and he leaped very high for that one.
Yeah, he says in the program that he's 5'8", Wayne, and Eckstein's listed at 5'7", and I walked right behind the two of them out into the clubhouse at Busch Stadium last week, and they're the same height, and I'm not sure either one of them's 5'7".
I got to tell you, they didn't care for the tape measure. You pulled it out of your pocket. You're doing that behind their back.
You know, that 5'8's like the basketball height in high school. You know, where they added like 1.5 inches just to scare the other team.
I'll take those 2 point guards.
Yeah, oh, no doubt.
Eckstein saying he really likes playing here. Place where he came as a member of the Angels. Aaron Miles getting rather acclimated, I would have to say, to the St. Louis Cardinals. And Rowland is drilled, and off he goes to first base. So that is a page out of the Pedro Martinez book. Defensively for this Kansas City ball club, well, there's our old friend Reggie Sanders with those sunglasses on. They're brought to you by Chevy.
We've been picking on this Royals team a little bit, and it's always great to see Reggie, isn't it? But one thing they have been very good at this season is defense. Got the 4th best defense in the American League. Their pitchers put the ball in play a lot, so that is a saving grace for this team. And particularly in the infield, they don't make a lot of errors. Grudzielanek, I think, is a major reason for that.
No errors in the games that he has played. And Minkevich, as I mentioned earlier, has won a Gold Glove, and he is outstanding at picking balls out of the dirt and wild or impossible throws, and he saves a lot of those infielders those errors.
Now with Graffinino at 3rd and Grudzielanek at 2nd and Minkevich at 1st, is that the most letters of any infield in the history of baseball? That's a lot of letters. On the right side it is. Yeah. I'll count them in a minute.
I think it's 14, isn't it? For Minkevich and Grudzielanek.
We'll get our stat guru Doug Stanton on that to see if there's ever been an infield with more letters.
Nobody better than the Stanton man. Edmonds takes a strike.
In fact, Doug is our cognoscenti.
That sounds like a connoisseur.
That's actually our Supon word of the day. It's somebody who has very special knowledge in a connoisseur. That's Doug Stanton.
Say one thing. These names for Scrabble be unbelievable. There's Jeff Supon.
Soup rolled down the window of his car driving through Kansas City just to deliver me that word today.
He'll deliver the pitch tomorrow, as he will be the starter against Scott Ellerton in the finale of this series. That's rifled foul left side.
I really like the way Edmonds has swung the bat over the last couple weeks. He's had a couple bad games, particularly against left-handers. Seems like he doesn't quite see the ball as well. He was dealing with a bit of a shoulder injury, but I just like the way he's taking the ball the other way, getting much better swings than he was earlier in the season.
Well, they are really playing him the opposite way. Big gap in right center field, and Reggie Sanders giving him all of the right field line for a left-handed batter. Interesting. Much better May than April.
Huge gap between Reggie Sanders and the center fielder Costa. And you're right, that right field line, if Jimmy does pull one into the corner, Reggie's got no chance of throwing out Rowland at home.
In the air to shallow right center for Reggie. And there's one away. Well, we've talked about this so many times. The Prime Seat Club, STLCardinals.com, and all the seating prices and levels are available. Those are by season ticket holders, including field box, dugout box, Cardinals club seats. So log on to STLCardinals.com and click on Prime Seat Club for more details. One out, runner at first, no score in this game, top half of the second. And Juan Encarnacion hitting .227 steps in. Goes after that off-speed pitch. Well, part of the report on this pitcher, Denny Bautista, at least by the swings I've seen of Albert Pujols and Juan Encarnacion, is that he tries to establish that first pitch strike.
And Encarnacion does not like to be too patient. He likes to get it done and get it done in a hurry. He's a swinger. In fact, when Tom Glavine walked him the other day, I about fell out of my chair. What's the chances of Tom Glavine walking Juan Encarnacion?
Rare indeed. And there's a base hit. And that'll put runners at first and second for the Cardinals.
Batista has a nice slider, but this one just up in the letters just a little bit, doesn't break very much. And Encarnacion, I'd say that really defines him a little bit as a hitter. I think he's a guy that really takes advantage of mistakes. Very much makes me think of Reggie Sanders as a hitter. If you make a good pitch, you're going to get him out, but they tend to jump on mistakes. I know Hal McRae wants his guys to be ready for that. Both those guys with enough ability to hurt you.
Now John Rodriguez with an opportunity to break the seal on the scoring in this one. Top of the second with one out. Runners at first and second for the visiting Cardinals. And he's first ball swinging. Lofts it foul and veering out of play.
How good has John Rodriguez been?
388 average. Still no home runs and only 6 RBIs. But when he was batting in the number 2 role, he really sustained the effort because he was getting on base ahead of Albert. But he is supposed to be playing left field, as you see the defense, and he is supposed to be supplying RBIs and home runs. That's the label he came to the major leagues with.
It's almost as if he found his power stroke in AAA last year in Memphis and just went on a home run binge and really carried that over to the big league level. But I'm not so sure he's not a guy that's better off as a gap hitter. If he stops thinking of himself as a home run hitter, the home runs will happen. But I'd rather see him make contact, be patient, get on base. When you look at this Cardinal lineup, you've got plenty of power already in Pujols and Roland and Edmonds and Encarnacion. You need guys like John Rodriguez to be on base in front of him or behind him.
Fouled away at the plate. It's 2 balls and 2 strikes to John Rodriguez. You're preaching patience. That's one of the things I love about Aaron Miles this year. He walked 8 times last year in roughly 300 at bats. He hasn't had 100 at bats this year, and he's already doubled that. I mean, he has really done a remarkable job wherever he has hit, getting on base. Last night it was a case of the Royals jumping out early against the Redbirds, and they staged their biggest comeback of the year. How important is it tonight to establish a fast start? It's always good. Let's point that out. But how important against a Royals team that's struggling?
Well, talking to the Royals people, they've just been struggling in games they've jumped out to leads, and in games they haven't. They just really can't seem to get it done no matter what happens. Pretty good breaking ball right there from Batista to get John Rodriguez. But this team has really just struggled in all kinds of games. They're not winning the close games, and when you come back or allow a team to come back like last night, as that off-speed pitch fools Rodriguez, particularly playing a team like the Cardinals who are so hot, the confidence level cannot be very high.
Yadier Molina needs some confidence. They need just a $165. Ball 1.
Yeah, talking about confidence, here's a guy that needs some. 0 for his last 8, 0 for 3 here last night with a walk, just 11 RBIs. Has not really had a lot of good at-bats that you can point to and say he's hit the ball hard, almost kind of a defensive swing.
And that's to the shortstop, and they get the out at second on Encarnacion. It started auspiciously, ended with no score. 0-0 going to the bottom of the second at Kauffman Stadium. Tonight's game brought to you by Southwest Airlines, with more flights to more places than ever before. Southwest is taking low fares farther. Another huge crowd on hand here for the Cardinals and the Royals. One of the great aspects of this interleague play of 10 years has been the fact that the Cardinals and the Royals could square off. Hard to imagine the last time that the Royals Royals were in the postseason of any sort was the year that they beat the Cardinals in 1985. It has been a long drought. Matt Stairs, the Canadian, serving as the DH here tonight. That levels the count at 1 ball, 1 strike. We're scoreless, bottom of the second. Stairs a well-traveled veteran. Like Larry Walker and so many other Canadians, loved hockey. Played about 8 months out of the year. When the weather was decent, they'd get maybe 2 months of baseball in. But here he is, making a nice living in the major leagues playing baseball.
And you don't have to hit people.
Unless there's some kind of a bench clearing brawl.
Yeah, but
I don't think you'd want him around.
No.
He might hurt somebody. He has gone through the process of trying to see better, contact lenses, experimenting with glasses. How difficult is it when I think about a guy walking up there trying to hit a baseball and not being able to see clearly?
Well, it's one of the things you realize that when you get older, we all know you get older, your eyes aren't quite as sharp as they used to be.
Hit a ton in the center, but loping to the ball is Edmonds. He's just playing out there. Boy, does he have fun catching a baseball that's sent into flight.
Vision so important for a baseball player defensively as well as offensively. Jim Edmonds is a very good center fielder because he sees the ball off the bat quickly, has great depth perception. If you're going to be an outfielder, you have to have depth perception. And if anybody doesn't believe me, if you stand out in the outfield one day in batting practice and realize how hard it is to find out where that ball's going to land. I mean, it really is a tough thing, and eyesight matters. So when you get older, that's one of the things that goes, not just your reflexes, but your eyesight.
Neil Brown saw that fastball boring in on him, able to get that left shoulder out of the way, hitting just 220, and he answers that brushback pitch with a shot in the right center. So for the Royals, that is their second hit of the game. A 1-out single. Man at first for Tony Graffinino.
Well, if you have a question about today's game, all you need to do is log on to WB11TV.com and type in your question, and we select your question. You will get a $50 First Bank check card. First Bank makes someday today with a home equity loan, and today's question may have to do with that gentleman. More later.
Very good news on his front. Threw yesterday from the mound for the second time. Going to throw a simulated game, and that's why Reyes is here tonight, taking the place of Ponson. And we'll get Sidney back in there as the number 5 starter. And Reyes will be going back down to the minor leagues. That is the plan. But trying to make his impact tonight so they won't forget him. Nice breaking pitch in for a strike at Graffinino. One of the interesting things that we saw last year was that start against Milwaukee. He's in a similar situation this year. He knows he's going back to the minor leagues. And remember what he did in that next start of the minor leagues? In 7 innings, he struck out 15 on that Sunday.
Thinking if I can get these big league hitters out, these AAA guys must be easy. You know, really, it's just an amazing thing what he did there, because the guys in AAA, and every major league player will tell you, it's not this great difference in terms of ability. The guys in AAA maybe are not as consistent, but it's not that they don't hit the ball as far. It's not that they don't throw as hard. They're just not as consistent. Pitchers are not as consistent with location. Hitters have more bad days, miss more mistakes. But for him to go and have that kind of game is just outstanding.
Plenty of foul territory here in a ballpark that opened up in 1973. A little bit of difference there as opposed to the new ballparks, and a nice play made by Molina. There's 2 outs, and here comes John Buck, no relation to our Joe. But you're talking about the AAA ranks. Think how he felt. He made the start against Milwaukee, pitched very well, and then is told you're going back down. And sometimes guys show their character when they're down and they're not happy about what happened. And he walks out there and says, okay, here's the motivation I need. And he goes out and strikes out 15 in 7 innings. And they took him out of the game when he had the 15 strikeouts. He could have gone longer, he said.
Cardinals did that with a guy, young pitcher, young phenom pitcher by the name of Danny Cox, who came up supposedly just to pitch 1 game against Steve Carlton. And he was the better of the 2 pitchers that day. And he didn't come back.
One of our favorite Cardinals. What a great guy. Danny Cox, one of the best. A little bit low. 1-1. Anthony Reyes trying to get man out of the plate. Looking at the possibility of having that number 9 hitter lead off the next inning. Say that strictly because it's in the American League with the DH. I did ask Hal McRae before the game, look how beautiful this ballpark is with this natural grass as you see the defensive alignment. I said, would you have preferred that when you played? He says, no, we were turfers. He loved the AstroTurf for not only the hitting aspect, and he said that was pivotal, but he said, I played the corner, I played left field. He said, I knew how to play that bounce. I knew how to play the ball that bounced in front of me, and down that left field corner. No, Willie McGee obviously played at Busch Stadium and knew how to play the AstroTurf when it was there. But Hal McRae felt that it was a big advantage for the Royals outfielders. They knew how to play the turf and how to play the corners when the opposition would come in here and misplay things often.
Well, there was a time where there was so much inconsistency from one to another. You think about some of them just being so spongy. And you're right. Every field has its little nook and cranny in it that becomes a home field advantage. But the AstroTurf really changed the way the game itself was even played. I like grass.
Great off-speed pitch to get Buck and in the inning. And Reyes has his first strikeout registered on the night. And we have 2 innings played on this Saturday night. No score in the game. Well, that with Rich Gould mixes sports and fun on the most entertaining Sunday night sports show you've ever seen. Sunday night, 9:30 at WB11.
I miss the days when Rich Gould is not traveling with us. There are times where he gets to join us on the road. He adds so much to our team here, along with the production folks. And is he a fun guy to be around, or what?
There hasn't been a day that he hasn't enjoyed life. Host extraordinaire. That's him.
Very fitting.
Aaron Miles trying to get the Cardinals on the scoreboard. 0-0 here in KC.
Batista's thrown a few pitches here where he just totally flies out and his arm is dragging. He throws the ball up and away to left-handers. It's probably part of the reason why he's had some physical problems. His delivery just seems to change from one pitch to the next.
Well, the Cardinal hitters just keep hitting it into the ground. 3-1 on that put out. Pitcher covering. He's a very good athlete from the Dominican Republic, and a guy who, because Albert brought up the point this week in that press conference that he held with the media during that Mets series, talking about his age and the questions about it. The reality is Denny Bautista here went and tried to prepare for what is a work visa with the Dominican Republic, and it came out that he actually was 2 years older than what his original birth date had stated. He was born in 1980.
That happened to a Cardinal minor league prospect actually throughout baseball. After 9/11, they were a lot more stringent on checking guys' ages, and a prospect was no longer a prospect when they found out he was 4 years older than he said he was.
David Eckstein takes a strike. In fact, Bautista was looked at by the Atlanta Braves, and because they had, I think it was Wilson Bettman had signed him underage, they were hand slapped by Major League Baseball, and they lost Bautista because of it. And it turned out that he eventually went to the Baltimore Orioles, and then after that coming over in a trade to Kansas City. So at 25, a bright future for this young man if he can control his pitches in that strike zone. That one is whacked to left field, back against the wall on a bounce. And don't throw that ball up and inside to David Eckstein, because like a little cobra, he unleashes a little power every now and then.
Boy, he really does, Wayne. He's got a way of hitting that ball up and in, just getting on top of it, almost like he goes to his toes to make sure he gets on top of it, because he likes that ball up and in. Bautista puts it in not a bad spot. You wouldn't normally think to a guy without a lot of power. Jam him, throw him inside, but Eckstein has just a knack for being able to get his hands on top of that ball. And he probably really was 5'8" when he swung at that pitch.
As his feet were off the ground. Spezio to the right side. Another ground ball out. And Eckstein will go to third. And for the first time tonight, we'll see about how they go in their attack against Albert Pujols.
I would be very surprised, despite that young man right there who wants to watch Albert Pujols hit, to be very surprised if Buddy Bell elects to pitch to Albert Pujols. First base is open. You, of course, have the dangerous Scott Rowland on deck, but Albert, you just can't pitch to him here.
What's on tap brought to you by Bud Light. Refreshingly smooth Bud Light. We'll have that game for you to close out this little session at 1 o'clock on WB11. Cardinals television tomorrow.
They're going to pitch to him.
They'll work out of the full windup with 2 outs and the runner at third.
I wouldn't.
Low ball 1. Nearly sent a wild pitch to the backstop.
You got a guy leading all of baseball in hitting with runners in scoring position.
With 2 outs, a .455 average. That's clutch. Nearly hit it. Albert sensed that was coming his way.
The catcher, John Buck, is reacting as if Batista's throwing knuckleballs. He's actually been crossed up on the last 2 pitches, or the pitches are not doing what he's expecting. He's almost boxing that ball right there, and that's really a slider that backed up and went the other direction. But the pitch before looked like he actually crossed him up. Got a shot at a wild pitch pass ball scenario here. They're trying to be careful with Albert, but if you throw the ball too far out of the zone, it may end up being a wild pitch.
3 balls and no strikes.
Why the charade, Wayne? Why the charade?
They want that man to be able to take a picture.
He's going to take a picture of Albert walking.
That's the only reason I can think of. You don't like the charade. He throws a strike on 3-0. Throw another one. It's a good pitch right at the knees. Let's get a little boxy to him.
Playing with fire right here.
And he'll get away with it on that hanger. As the third baseman, Graffinino, will throw out Albert Pujols. So the Cardinals leave a man in scoring position. They've done that on 2 occasions tonight. No score. The AT&T Summer Series here to celebrate the historic rivalry of the Cardinals and the Cubs. And check it out. New AT&T, your world delivered. Anthony Reyes and Denny Bautista pitching well. Father and son checking it out. Looks to be a Royals fan with that cap. It's the Rick Horton autographed glove on the wrong hand. Great to see kids here at the ballpark.
Oh, it's great to see a father and son too, just talking about baseball. I'm sure he's describing the players and the games that he went to when he was a kid. It's a great connector.
Waterway gives you the scoreboard, and Barry Bonds did hit number 714 today against the Oakland Athletics in Oakland in interleague play. He hit it into right center field, so he has matched Babe Ruth.
And I'm sure there's a lot of folks that would say, finally, maybe we can stop talking about that for a while.
He
Barry
will not
Bonds,
catch Aaron, in my opinion.
He's a lightning rod in terms of getting negative attention, of course, Barry, but you can't say that's a man that doesn't have great ability. He's just an unbelievable baseball player and has been.
Our Dairy Queen leaderboard, Hank Aaron, 755. I personally do not believe that Bonds will play long enough to catch him. And I still wonder about Willie Mays. Had he played at County Stadium, Milwaukee, like Aaron did, at Fulton County Stadium, the launching pad, instead of Candlestick Park, I still believe that Mays would have hit 800 home runs. It is my opinion only in this booth. I haven't heard you say one way or the other, but I'm going to ask you.
I don't disagree with that. You know, I loved watching Willie Mays play as a Met growing up in New York at the end of his career. Had diminished ability, but he played with such flair. And you know, you take a guy out of right in the middle of his prime, take a couple of years away from him. That's, you know, clearly he would have had at least another 70 home runs in those 2 years. And playing in Candlestick, that's a tough place to hit a home run, depending upon which way the wind was blowing. You got it in right center field in Candlestick at the right time of day. You could go deep at Candlestick, Wayne, but if you hit the ball the wrong part of the day into the power alleys, it's a fly ball. Not to take anything away from your power.
No, you're very accurate about how difficult it would be, because you did fib to the audience. There's no way I would have hit a home run at Candlestick. I will say this, though. Having played there, as you did, I broadcast there. Probably the best line I ever heard about the description, and it had to do with the comparison of Dodger Stadium and Candlestick, is that somebody once wrote that Candlestick Park was the box that Disneyland came in. The box that Disneyland came in.
Interesting.
But there was no better sight, and you saw it, when Tommy Lasorda would walk in from that bullpen area down the right field line from the clubhouse across the field. That's the only way you can get on. There are 2 outs as Costa is out by way of a ground ball. Let's pause for station identification. This is KPLR TVDT St. Louis. But when Tommy would walk out, and those Giant fans waited for that moment.
Now that's a rivalry. This is a different rivalry here. You talk about Kansas City, St. Louis. Of course, we all harken back to 1985 and what happened in that series of going 7 games. It was a great series, interstate rivalry. Picture then Governor John Ashcroft wearing a hat that was Kansas City on one side, and then he'd turn it around and be St. Louis the other way, just being a typical politician that John is. But it was just a fun series, I would say. But it's a different kind of rivalry. That San Francisco-LA rivalry is kind of mean.
It's mean.
It really is.
And especially on the San Francisco side. They have not won a World Series since getting to California in '58. Long run, and Encarnacion with those long legs, long strides, got to it. And that's the first 1-2-3 inning for them. And Anthony Reyes scoreless through 3. This portion of Cardinal Baseball on WB11 brought to you by your St. Louis Lexus dealer, who invite you to test drive a Lexus today. By U.S. Cellular, we connect with you. And by Hardee's, home of the 100% Angus Beef Thick Burger. We have 85. They are trying to put salt in the wound. Cardinals have been to a couple of World Series since '85. The Royals have not.
I thought those guys were just standing up bragging about their IQs.
Spoken by an ex-player who has the right to. Scott rolling up there, takes a strike.
Oh, boy.
0-2 the count. You know, a lot of people around baseball know that you were in Field of Dreams.
Yeah, few people know that. They're all relative.
Folks, after this telecast, put the DVD in and check it out. Rick is pitching, if memory serves me correctly, for the Chicago White Sox.
Yes.
On the television during the movie itself, Kevin Costner said, I personally would like Rick Horton in this movie.
Yeah.
Scott Rowland, after his rookie year, had one of the most scary moments of his life because of television.
Is that right?
He was asked, along with Mark Grudzielanek and a couple of other major leaguers, to be on Saturday Night Live.
Oh, boy.
So he meets Helen Hunt, he meets Jack Nicholson, and he's on the show. All they ever wanted to do was be in the audience and see it. No, they wrote a script for them. And Scott delivered a line or two.
Did he really?
And Scott is a rookie, so he's just a young kid from Indiana, had a great rookie.
Kind of a quiet guy. Now, he's a funny guy.
He's very dry.
Very funny, but he's kind of dry.
Yes.
Exactly.
So his role was very unique. That one is going to be out of play.
So what did he do?
So this whole skit that they put together was involving a kid wanting to be a major leaguer, and Helen Hunt is his mom, putting him to bed. She turns off the lights, goes out, and all of a sudden these major leaguers show up, and the kids are, oh, it's Scott Rowland, National League Rookie of the Year. Scott goes, shut up, kid, go to bed. And he had another line in there, but I mean,
he would have had to really get into character, because that's not the kind of thing that you would get out of Scott Rowland's mouth.
He's going to get a base hit despite the fact he was jammed. And Rick, you got to be pretty strong to do that.
Yeah, he kept his hands inside the ball there, and it is a matter of strength when a pitcher makes a pitch that really is to his spot. It's a fastball tailing in on Rowland. It's up and in, and really just muscles the ball up the middle. Very easily could have sawed him off right there, or could have just been a weak ground ball back to the mound, but Rowland with that strength is awarded with a base hit.
Well, the television star comes up on cue, gets the hit, and here's Jim Edmonds. But he said he was so frightened, and he said it wasn't just because it was Saturday Night Live and it was a big show at the time. Will Ferrell was the star of the show, but he said it was because of the fact that it was live, and he had to deliver a line or two. Our quiet Scott Rowland. Jim Edmonds, fly ball to right his first time up. Scoreless in Kansas City on this Saturday evening. It is absolutely beautiful here in Kansas City. Not nearly as warm as it was yesterday, but still very nice.
Been some grumbling here in Kansas City about the way Scott Rowland has gone in hard at second base, which is really the way he plays the game. He plays very hard. Last night went in a little bit hard at second base, and some folks are not too happy about that.
Are they in uniform or in the stands?
I think some of the folks are in uniform. Scott Rowland knows just one way to play this game. He goes in high and goes in hard. A little bit off the base, but as long as you can reach the base, nothing dirty about that. That's just a good hard baseball.
I found nothing wrong with that at all. I wouldn't find anything wrong if that had been a Royal.
Nope.
Going in at shortstop against Exton. Al McRae and Don Baylor were the two toughest guys I ever saw go in for double play.
I tell you, the toughest guy I ever saw. Not as big as those two, but the guy who was relentless is a guy that played for both the Royals and the Cardinals is Lonnie Smith. And the thing about Lonnie is he was so fast. He was on you in a hurry, and he went in very hard at second base. I saw him lay out Steve Sachs one time. Just hit him right in the ribs and took him into left field.
That's when Steve Sachs' throwing problems began.
It could be. I think Steve Sachs' throwing problems began when Mrs. Sachs gave birth to him. I think
childhood, you say.
Yeah.
Whew. Now in the financial business up in Northern California. Steve Sachs. Will they be running him here? Hole on the right side for the left-handed hitting Edmonds. They don't run him, and he goes the opposite way and flares it foul.
The advantage you have with Jim Edmonds batting is he very rarely hits into double plays. You think about his career, he's kind of a fly ball guy. Now, one of the things he's done better in the last couple of weeks is hit the ball more squarely, become more of a line drive guy. But you can really almost count on one hand the number of times that Jim Edmonds has grounded into a double play. So the necessity to run the runner at first base is lessened.
He was the last guy to hit into one last year. Swings and misses, and the throw goes into center field, and that shortstop didn't have any idea about that ball because he knew a big body was sliding in, and it comes through again, even though it was an errant throw. I think the presence of Rowland played a major factor.
Well, alert base running by Scott Rowland. He's off on the pitch. It's an errant throw. Rowland goes in hard. He looks for the ball, wants to pick up the ball, but also wants to make sure he taps second base with his toe. And Scott Rowland, very good jump, forces an errant throw from John Buck and finds himself in scoring position with one out for Encarnacion.
And the infield drawn in. Encarnacion, we'll see if he's aggressive, goes after that first pitch again, and does. Strike one. Base hit to left. He's starting to pick it up. He's averaging 232 and climbing, but he dug himself such an early hole.
It's almost as good as a hit and run right there.
Rowland is asking for time. He is not only a base runner, but he is obviously a landscaper because he could see that there was a beach ball that got away, or some kind of ball down there.
Got the whole world in your hands.
Huh. He's the only one who saw it, requested time. And now it's up to Encarnacion. 0-2.
Well, that throw from John Buck, he does not get on top of it. He actually throws it a little bit sidearm, and the ball just tails away. The shortstop Blanco tries to run up the second base side to get it, but you've got to throw the ball cross seam, and you've got to throw the ball with your fingers on top to make sure that ball doesn't tail. Very important for a catcher to throw that ball on the line to second base.
He overthrew that one a bit. 1-2.
Really, every infielder, every outfielder, and the catcher, when you catch a baseball, the first thing they do, and they do it subconsciously, is move the ball in their hands so they have a cross seam grip so a ball doesn't tail away. Sometimes by the nature of the way you catch it, you get a bad grip and the ball does flare off like that last throw from Buck.
Works out of the full windup, and that gets past the drawn in infield, and the Cardinals lead it 1-0. Encarnacion wants 2, and he's going to make it with a head first slide. Costa very slow in getting to that ball and reacting to get it back into the infield, and Encarnacion not only drives in the run, but excellent job on the part of that man Juan Encarnacion to advance another base.
The reason that base hit hurts so much is because of this error from the catcher John Buck up the line. Scott Rowland gets himself in scoring position. The Royals electing to play infield in, and Encarnacion turns that single into the double as Costa a little bit slow coming to it. Not a real strong arm. Great hustle by Juan Encarnacion. We've had some things to say about his base running, but very impressed right there with the way he took that extra base.
And the Cardinals trying to play for a big inning with 1 out. Rodriguez, is this the time to finally hit his first home run of the year?
The Royals know they can't afford to give up any runs, so they're forced to play infield in. And not a really hard hit ball off the bat of Encarnacion picks up a run.
They don't go deep into a ball game. And boy, that's fewest innings by any major league team since expansion. And that would be back to 1961 when they look at the expansion era.
Whew. Batista's only gone into the 6th inning 1 time himself.
That was a hanger, and Rodriguez fouls it out of play. Tough on Buddy Bell, but he's been through this before. He was with that Detroit team that wasn't very good. He was with the Colorado team that wasn't very good. I'd like to see Buddy Bell have a good team and see what he could do. It's an excellent person, I'll tell you that.
He did. It was called the Cincinnati Reds when he was playing.
That's right. The Texas Rangers weren't a very good team, but he won 6 Gold Gloves, and he's a player's manager. They love him.
Son David, a former Cardinal.
In fact, you're talking about his dad, Gus Bell, and Buddy was with Cleveland, so 2 Ohio teams, but he was born in Cincinnati. That is, in fact, a couple years ago, he didn't even seem to be aware of this, but Sports Illustrated went to all of the clubhouse attendants in Major League Baseball. They said, who was the stiffest guy? You know, didn't give out any tips. Who was the best? Buddy Bell was the best out of all the major leaguers when they did that poll just a few years ago.
How about that?
Just a class act. And you know what? He's had some serious tragedy in his family, and he's had a bout with epilepsy. His wife Gloria with cancer, but she's a survivor. He has a wonderful daughter by the name of Tracy who has Down syndrome, and he just loves that little girl. Just loves that little girl. I asked about her today, and he had a big smile on his face. She's doing just fine. They make their home now down in the Tucson, Arizona area. Nice place to be. To the right side, but not too far from the bag for the first baseman, Mankiewicz. 2 outs. And Encarnacion 90 feet away from a wild pitch pass ball possibility here.
How about a 2-out hit from Yadier Molina? That would do a lot to get his confidence up. He's doing a great job behind the plate today with Reyes, and one of the things that is important for a young pitcher to have as he comes up in this situation with Reyes is to have trust in his catcher, and everybody in this organization knows that Yadier Molina knows what he's doing behind the plate. You would also like to see him get involved a little bit more offensively, and perhaps this is an opportunity for him to do that.
Trying to groove that swing a little bit. He's experimented. He's changed his stance, where he holds his hands. He's tried everything, and Hal McRae finally said, tame it. Just get down to something and just try to get comfortable. Sometimes that's a recipe for disaster when you start trying a new thing. Pitchers in the minor leagues, they see a guy has a good game with his changeup, and they say, how'd you hold it? And then they'll change their grip, and then they'll change it again the next week, and you never quite get a feel for it. 1 ball, 1 strike with 2 outs. Cardinals leading 1-0 here in Kansas City. They couldn't come up with the 2-out hit in the 3rd inning. Left a runner at 3rd base. They left another runner in scoring position in the 2nd. And Bautista say no to a couple of signs. And there is a smash, and that's happened to Molina all year long. He hits it on the nose of the 3rd baseman. Graffinino makes a Brooks Robinson play to get him. The Cardinals break through. They lead it 1-0. That's our comparison of the game, brought to you by Esurance. Get some relief from high auto insurance prices. Quote and compare instantly at esurance.com. Significant difference, especially with that ERA. So the same state, but not exactly the same results. Cardinals and Royals fans can sit together. Yes. Maybe even the same family. Plenty of red here today. No doubt about that. Pretty nice crowd here at Kauffman Stadium. And over 33,000 last night. And they're expecting right along those same lines here tonight. This is such a beautiful ballpark. I cannot believe it opened up in 1973. It's like Dodger Stadium in the National League. It's just as clean and pristine as the day it opened. Chance for Roland, who was playing far to his left for the left-handed hitting Minkevich. 1 away for Anthony Reyes, who for the first time tonight is pitching with a lead. Now they're going to make some changes. They're going to make changes for Arrowhead Stadium just across the parking lot. This will change. In fact, those bullpens that you saw there will be rebuilt. They'll be put into effect as suites out there in that area. They're going to actually put the bullpens on the field itself like they did at the ballpark in San Francisco and so many others. Cardinals actually missing one of their bullpen guys today. Jeff Murphy not feeling well, and Dan Held's got to catch everybody out there in that Cardinal bullpen, and thus far with the way Reyes is pitching, not a lot of activity, just a lot of stories in the Cardinal bullpen. Dan Held is the happiest guy right now other than Anthony Reyes. Dan Held is a terrific young man who, just like so many of the other members of this Cardinal ball club, they just work incessantly. 3-year teammate of Scott Rowland, actually played first base when Rowland played third. Out hit him all 3 years, but he was never a prospect. Scott Rowland was. Scott told me before the game, he said Dan just never got a chance. Today's game is brought to you by Southwest Airlines, with more flights to more places than ever before. Southwest is taking low fares farther. Ewing Kauffman, the longtime owner of the Kansas City Royals, who made this such a spectacular franchise. I mean, this was the model franchise for expansion. They've got some issues to deal with here in Kansas City. No question about that. You talked about the renovations of the ballpark and the bullpens, but there's going to have to be some renovations of people wearing the uniforms here. This is a club that relied on some young players to come up and fill some voids, and a lot of them have not panned out. So they've moved to the veterans like Minkevich and Matt Stairs to kind of be a stopgap measure for them, but they've got to find a way to develop some young players. Of course, this lineup is really hurting
with DeJesus and Sweeney both out of it. That's an entirely different team without those guys.
The opposite way for Rodriguez, who had to adjust. He was coming in, had to veer back, and Reggie Sanders back to first base. And with 2 outs, Emil Brown coming up. The thing about this Royals franchise, this is a great baseball city.
Oh,
it
absolutely.
really is a fantastic city. And now, because of the popularity of the Chiefs, I think that is primarily why this whole renovation project is coming together. There's Sweeney, one of the true men of character in this game. Flat out hit when healthy.
July 1st is the first day he could possibly be back. He's had issues with his neck and just has not been healthy, and it's too bad. He's one of the best hitters in the game, and he also, as you say, one of the nicest guys in this game too. Kansas City loves him, and he's had to battle through just a lot of struggling team, and he's got a C on his chest for a reason.
He is the captain of this Royals ball club. I've got a scenario for you. See if you buy into it. John Sherholtz was the architect of those Royals teams, then went on and has really made the legacy beautiful for him to be remembered by what he's done in Atlanta with the 14 consecutive division championships. But he's looking to retire. I'm not drifting back to Kansas City, where it really all began for him, the success.
Do a little consulting here, maybe?
Well, come back here as the general manager if indeed there's ever going to be a change. They've talked about it. David Glass said a couple of weeks ago major changes are coming, and they're still waiting. Those changes haven't happened. But what an incredible blueprint for success John Sherholtz initially placed here in Kansas City. Bring him back with his baseball people and let them take over a few years down the road. I know he wants to retire to Naples, Florida. That's certainly been in his heart and mind for a long time now. But how about one last go around in a town that he absolutely loves, and he thought it captured his fancy years ago? Why not finish here?
Well, I'm sure it's hard for him to look at what the Royals are right now, and so perhaps that would be something that would tug at his heart a little bit.
Did he go? No, upon appeal. Emil Brown still up there.
I've read things in various publications and heard some people chatting about Whitey Herzog in that regard too. Obviously made his mark in St. Louis, but really made his first mark here in Kansas City. He was a beloved figure here in Kansas City, still loves the folks here, and to have his influence somehow in turning this club around might not be a bad idea.
That one's ripped foul down the left side. Not too far from that foul pole. Inviting, but foul. Whitey Herzog with those Royals teams, and many consider the late 70s and even that 80s team maybe better than the 85 team. But they ran into those Yankees all the time, and Goose Gossage, who was in the prime of his career, Hal McRae saying that today, if we didn't have to run into him, we had leads in those games. We just couldn't stop them, and we couldn't do anything against Goose. That nearly hit him, and he has walked his first man. So runners at first and second for Kansas City. And Tony Graffinino will be the hitter who fouled out to the catcher.
Reyes has to be careful not to let this inning get away from him. It was seemingly over. Matt Stairs flies out to left field, and you walk Emil Brown. He almost came, well, he came very close to having a 2-run homer down the line, probably about 10 feet foul. And you got to nail down every inning. Just because you've got your 2 outs, you can't kind of put that in your pocket. And Dave Duncan knows how fast an inning can turn around. Tony Graffinino, the veteran, hits a ball in the gap, and all of a sudden this game is not in hand for the Cardinals.
Cardinals leading by a score of 1-0. This is the first time that the Royals have had a man reach as far as second base in the game, and it's Reggie Sanders. That was a strange move on the part of Reyes, and so Yadier is going to go out and talk to him, saying bear down on the hitter. Okay, you were a pitcher. They come to you like Anthony Reyes and say, you need to work on your sinker. Right. How long does it take for a pitcher?
Well, it depends on the aptitude of the pitcher. When you're learning a new pitcher, there's actually 3 steps. The first step is, how do you throw it? The second step is, can I get it consistent and have command of it? And then the third step is when to throw.
He got that one up, and it was fouled out of play. Still has that good 4-seamer. Not to say that he's going to discard the 4-seamer. No, that good sinker would make it enhanced.
Well, the easiest of those 3 things is the how to. You can teach anybody how to throw a pitch to make it sink. And Marquis is one of those guys that's really learned to throw the ball with good sink. I think he's figured out something mechanically. He's had a couple of good starts in a row. But consistency is always an issue. It is for him, and it will be for Reyes.
Got him on a breaky ball that's popped up for the shortstop, David Eckstein. He waves away the entire state and has it for the out. So the Royals lead 2. We go to the 5th inning, 1-0 St. Louis. And the Cardinals are bringing back Teacher Appreciation Nights. All teachers and school staff can purchase discounted Loge box and pavilion box seats when the Cardinals face the Astros Wednesday, May the 31st, and against the Cleveland Indians on Monday, June the 26th. Purchase your tickets, stlcardinals.com. Click on the Appreciation Nights icon and enter the password teacher. And congratulations to all of the teachers and students who have made another year pass by, and hopefully in very, very favorable fashion on both ends. We can't do much without those who teach us.
How important is their contribution to the young people? They're huge. Probably not a day goes by where I don't appreciate what they have done for my kids. It would be great to see them out at the ballpark celebrating together. Another summer time. I like seeing Aaron Miles lead off the inning. It's one of the things about when you employ the DH, you like that 9th guy to be kind of like a leadoff hitter, because it's almost like you've got him back to back with Eckstein on deck. And the patience that Miles has developed this year as opposed to his past years that you were mentioning earlier is something that's really important in this spot.
And he's worked it to a 3-1 count with Eckstein on deck. 1-0 Cardinals. It was a base hit by Juan Encarnacion that would drive in Scott Rowland. And that's the only run of the game after last night. There are all kinds of runs scored. A 9-6 victory for the Cardinals. They don't play him very deep in this ballpark. Considerable gap in right center for Miles. He could get a triple very easily if he could drive it in the gap in right center field.
The shortstop Blanco seems to be playing everybody a little bit more in the hole. I noticed that he was that way with Molina, but he's a little deep in the hole here at shortstop, which leaves a lot of area up the middle for the Cardinal hitters. He seems like he's playing everybody that way. He probably has more confidence going to his left than he does to his right.
And he is going to be targeted for this one. He made 12 errors at Omaha, but he's been flawless tonight, and that's out number 1. He was brought up when they made the moves with Kerry Robinson, the former Cardinal, when he designated for assignment.
Blanco playing deep in the hole. Miles does try to hit the ball up the middle, and no problem at all for Blanco. Looked pretty smooth on that attempt. You can often tell with an infielder if they have soft hands or not, and Blanco looked like he had very smooth, soft hands on that play. I'm surprised he has so many errors.
Angel Baroa is their everyday shortstop, but he needs a rest every now and then. Blanco doing the job here tonight. A 1-strike count on Eckstein, who has a double in his 2 trips. Look out, that's inside. This guy's unafraid to throw inside. He's done it on a couple of occasions.
I noticed on that first pitch to Eckstein that the shortstop Blanco almost wasn't paying attention. He didn't have his glove on yet. He was kind of working the field right in front of him.
That one's hit out Grudzelonic's way, and he's been letter perfect. And that'll bring up Scott Spezio.
Well, we have our interactive question, which today comes from Kevin Scheib of Wright City, Missouri, and he wants to know about the status of Sidney Ponceau, number 13, and he asked what exactly is wrong with him and when is he expected to return to the starting rotation. Thanks for the question, Kevin. Sidney Ponceau, you mentioned earlier, threw a bullpen yesterday. It's a second bullpen. He's also had a couple of long toss outings. He's going to throw a simulated game on Monday. The Cardinals do not need to go to a 5th starter until May 30th. With some off days, they can get away with not having one. So when Reyes goes back out after today's performance, the Cardinals will probably go to another reliever, or perhaps another position player, and Ponceau won't need to be activated probably until then. So what problem is he having? Well, he's actually had a strained flexor muscle near his right elbow, and that's pretty much what you're dealing with right now, isn't it, Wayne?
Yeah, and
a little shoulder
towards the shoulder.
Oh, you got more of a shoulder problem.
Threw a little batting practice for the kids the other day, and I wasn't prepared. You've got to warm up a little bit more. But, you know, kids are impatient. Dad, let's go. And I'm like, I'm not ready yet, guys.
I'm not sure there was enough hours in that day, Wayne, for you to be able to throw without it being hurt the next day.
Oh, my. So I have a sense of what it's like to be a major league pitcher. How do these relievers come back day after day? Guys throw 4 or 5 days in a row sometimes.
I asked Randy Flores about it before the game today. Out of every 10 appearances, how many of them do you feel good? And his answer was 5. I'm not surprised.
Wow.
And I said, how many do you feel really, really bad? And he'd say, well, about 2 or 3 of the other ones. And then 2 or 3 of the other ones, it's kind of okay. And that's just the life of being a reliever. He said he's been very healthy, felt really good this year, but that's just the way it is.
My arm's hanging. He's got Spezio with 2 outs.
Albert on
who's
deck.
on deck? There he is. They actually contained him. He's on that little running track area. They won't let him get any closer to the plate. And he won't walk him. He'll get him on strikes. And that's the 3rd strikeout of the game for Denny Bautista. Well, the 25-year-old is down 1-0 in the game, but he's pitched very well through 5. This portion of Cardinal Baseball on WB11 brought to you by Dairy Queen. DQ something different. And by Pulaski Bank. Give them a chance to prove themselves to you. Neptune. City of Fountains, Kansas City, Missouri. That's down near the plaza. What a great, great city this is. On the western side of the state. I do get a kick out of things every now and then. Some of the things that Rick will say. And I will react at the time of this. Sometimes it kind of stays in your craw a while as a fly ball is sent the opposite way by Buck. And Encarnacion makes the catch. I was thinking, you just said that the shortstop, Blanco, wasn't paying attention when that pitch is delivered. If you caught it, I wonder how many in that dugout of the Royals caught it.
Well, I know I caught one time. Not only did I just catch Blanco doing that, Dave Winfield in a game when he was with the Yankees was playing right field in a game at Comiskey Park in Chicago, and the manager went out to change pitchers and decided not to do it. Went back into the dugout. Dave Winfield had gone down to the right field line, was leaning over the fence talking to friends because he thought there was going to be a pitching change. Pitching coach ran right back out, left the pitcher in. The next pitch was delivered to the plate with Dave Winfield, and I saw it plain as day. I don't know if they caught it on camera or not, but Dave Winfield was in foul territory, leaning on the railing, talking to his friends. How about that?
Blanco will ground out to the second baseman, Miles. Reyes just continues to mow them down. He has allowed 3 singles in the game, 1 walk, so he's had just a total of 4 base runners in the game, and every note being put down by that man Dave Duncan, just leading to the future of Anthony Reyes.
Dave Duncan's making notes about what that pitch selection was. He helped set the defense for the Cardinals, something most pitching coaches do not do. Usually the bench coach does that, but Dave Duncan is very adamant about wanting control over how his defense reacts behind his pitchers. He doesn't want guys to be out of position, and so he'll write down what that pitch was, what the count was, and put it on his charts.
Fouled out of play by Shane Costin, batting with 2 outs. Cardinals leading 1-0. For Anthony Reyes, every pitcher goes through a dead arm period, but his started at the start of the season and his velocity was down. And remember, we were even talking about it because the reports from Memphis were kind of alerting us to it, as Eckstein will have a tough play and will make the catch. And how in the world did he catch it and avoid that little strong safety coming in from left field, John Rodriguez?
Ozzie Smith and Kurt Ford.
Wow, what a play by Eckstein. The concentration with his back to home plate. Albert Pujols leads it off here in the 6th inning. Cardinals leading 1-0. He's 0 for 2 with a fly ball to center and a ground ball to third. And he'll take ball 1 from the right-hander Denny Bautista. We talked about his pitch limit. Somewhere around 80 to 90 pitches tops for this very slender right-hander.
You have to say he's done a pretty nice job right here. The Cardinals have to be careful this game doesn't get away from him. Batista has really kept them at bay with just 4 hits through 5 innings. He's got Albert 0 for 2. And even though Reyes is doing a nice job, the Cardinals have missed a couple of opportunities to score early. And the Royals certainly have a lot of opportunities left to come back the way the Cardinals came back last night. I will say that the Cardinals have an advantage from 6th inning on in terms of bullpens. The Cardinals have the best bullpen in all of baseball right now in terms of earned run average.
Now wait a second. Wasn't that a huge question mark the first week?
Really
first
was.
3 days?
I was questioning it myself, but they've just really come to gel together out there in that bullpen and have done the job more often than not.
2-2. Nice flag by Blanco, and he puts on a strong arm and gets the out of Albert Pujols. Well, the shortstops have made 2 great plays in the last 2 outs. This one is our steak and shake defensive play of the game by that man, David Eckstein.
Well, Eckstein's play takes a little bit more courage as he's looking over his shoulder, running straight away from home plate, and he knows that John Rodriguez coming into the picture is also coming into his area, but able to keep his eye on the ball the whole way. That's a gutsy play for an infielder. You've got to trust that your outfielder is going to get out of the way.
Now it's Scott Rowland who's been front and center. He has scored the run tonight. He's been hit by a pitch, has a base hit, a stolen base. That average up to 307 and climbing. 1-0 Cardinals. Off the end of the bat. Pitcher showing that he can make a play. 2 outs.
I love that shot of David Eckstein's eyes as he knows Rodriguez is coming into the picture. He's watching the ball the whole way underneath the bill of his cap, following the flight of the ball. He hears Rodriguez, but doesn't look down till after that ball is safely in that glove of his. What a great play by Eckstein.
Hard enough to run with your head stretched back like that, let alone to catch a pop-up.
Somebody's running right at you.
Give credit to that man, Rodriguez, who bailed out of harm's way. Now it's Jim Edmonds with 2 outs and nobody on, and you're right, Bautista did an outstanding job here tonight.
Really Rodriguez's job on that play, that if he can't get it, to make sure you don't impede your infielder. You got to yell loud enough so that Eckstein will stop running. If you think you've got a shot at it, you've got to take control over that. And Rodriguez at the last minute got himself out of the way.
That's going to be back into the crowd. And somebody in that crowd tonight is Danielle Gibson of Centralia, Illinois, here with her Aunt Karen. And Cardinal ushers Eileen, Mike, Mary, and John. They're celebrating her sweet 16th birthday. We hope she's having a great time here at the ballpark. Far cry from last night with all the offense. 2 young pitchers doing a very nice job at Bautista and Reyes.
How important is this job for the Royals, for Bautista to be able to go so deep into this game? Reyes doing equally as well for the Cardinals, but the Royals have a lot more bullpen problems. They don't have as many innings out there. For him to go deep into a game, these are guys that have been in a lot of games. Cisco is leading all of baseball in terms of appearances out in the bullpen. Cardinals have a pretty well-rested bullpen, so not as big of an issue for them, but a real major lift shot in the arm for Buddy Bell that Batista is now pitching in the 6th.
There's Minkiewicz, who knocks it down, but Sprawling can't make the play at first. It'll be an infield hit for Edmonds. Great glove effort just to knock it down. Ever the perfectionist, he wanted to make that out.
Of course, be an infield hit for Jim Edmonds. Pulls the ball right down the first base line. Minkiewicz knocks it down, keeps it in front of him, And the short backhanded flip to the pitcher covering not in time. Minkiewicz is a perfectionist. That's the way he's always gone about hitting, and he's just really a student of the game in terms of hitting and working on the tee for hours when he was a college athlete. And nobody who plays this game doesn't take a lot of pride in the way they do every facet of it. They're working. It's their job. And you want to make every play possible. Minkiewicz wanted to make even the great play, not just the average play, but the great play.
This could pay dividends for the Cardinals because Encarnacion is 2 out of 2 against this right-handed pitcher. He's driven in the lone run back in the 4th. Edmonds with 2 men out. They play Encarnacion to hit the opposite way. And he hits it to third. Force play at second, and that will be that. Bottom of the 6th coming from Kansas City's Ewing Kauffman Stadium. That man has a 1-0 lead for the Redbirds. Cardinals trivia brought to you by Schnucks, where shopping is easy. What 2 teammates hold the major league record for the most combined letters in their last names, and I think they're here tonight. 12 apiece, by the way, for Grzelcyk and Cable.
Oh, how about that? Ooh, Tim Spoonie Barger and Todd Hollinsworth. Now what? Now how did we find that? That's a lot of research right there. I'm impressed.
Grzelcyk leading off the last of the 6th inning. He's grounded out to short and lined to right. That is Minkiewicz.
Almost run out of back with those 2 guys, don't you?
Backing up is Miles, and he flings it on to first to get the out. A lot of the pieces of this Cardinal puzzle have come together, and here's another piece of that puzzle to step in here. It was talked about the fact that he might get the start here, and then some people thought it might come from the bullpen, maybe a combination. Didn't happen that way. Reyes is pitching an outstanding game, leading 1-0.
What I like about what Reyes has done tonight is he's had a great assortment of pitches. His curveball has actually been better than I remember it, and his changeup, he's using it at the right time. That's a first pitch fastball to Minkiewicz on the inside part of the plate. He's using both sides of the plate, really mixing his pitch very well. And give Yadier Molina some credit for that in terms of giving him some help behind the plate. The catcher offers a suggestion. The pitcher makes the decision, but sure is helpful if the catcher's on the same wavelength that you're on.
Laced foul. I was thinking of Minkiewicz and Grzelcyk. How many times have you been asked for your autograph, and how easy it is for Horton? How difficult it must be to sign a baseball if you're Minkiewicz or Grzelcyk.
Or Ray Chaney. You know what the shortest named player in the history of baseball is? I'm sure our crack staff could get right on that.
I'd say Sadahara. Oh, at least for the last name, I would guess.
How about Bill Lee?
There's a base hit for Minkiewicz. That's his 2nd single of the night. There have been just 4 hits for the Royals, 5 for the Cardinals. Once again, we'll tell you about the Cubs who are coming to town to take on the Cardinals in the AT&T Summer Series. The new AT&T, your world delivered. Dave Duncan out to talk with Anthony Reyes for the first time tonight, with Reggie Sanders having some success against him. Well, the single his last time, and a hard hit ball that was driven right to the second baseman Miles, who had to climb the ladder to pull it down.
My guess here is that Dave Duncan has a very specific way that he wants Anthony Reyes to pitch Reggie Sanders. One of the things about watching Reggie play for 2 seasons as the pitching coach for the Cardinals is you find out what your guys can't hit, And you're always looking for that, because sooner or later some of your guys end up being on the other team. So you're getting the book on those guys too, and he wants to make sure that Reyes does not make a mistake with a dangerous hitter like Sanders.
And he jammed him on that one and fouls it off. With Matt Stairs, the designated hitter, on deck next, and the possibility of a long ball, they have Tyler Houston warming up in the Cardinal bullpen as we speak. And a ground ball. Miles, a nice play to get the out at second base. Tyler Johnson warming up at the bullpen. Stairs coming to the plate. That was a nice save by that man. Brought by Commerce Bank.
A lot more confident defensive play from Aaron Miles. He backed up on the first ball hit this inning, but a little more confident the way he approached that ball hit to his left. And he gets the lead runner to keep him out of scoring position. Grudzelonic's first ball this inning, he really backed up on it. I almost thought he was defensive on it. And Anthony Reyes, did he do a nice job today? Yes, he did. And Tony La Russa comes to the mound, and that'll be it for him.
So a guy that pitched with him in Memphis, who is here at the major league level. Nice hand for Reyes from the Cardinal faithful. Many are standing. Pitching change here in KC. This call to the bullpen brought to you by U.S. Cellular. We connect with you. And Tyler Johnson, a left-hander, has done very well for this ball club.
He really has. He has a good breaking ball, and he's on in relief of Anthony Reyes. I've got to say, I'd just as soon have Reyes stay in this ball game. I don't think he was struggling at all. I would like to see him go a little deeper in this game. He's a young guy. He's got the ability to go 7 or 8 innings. He's done that all year long in Memphis. Didn't show any signs of tiring to me. No problem with Tyler Johnson pitching, but I just think Reyes deserves a shot to go a little bit deeper in this game. Tyler Johnson has been particularly good against left-handers, and he's on to face Matt Stairs.
He has retired 7 of 8 batters faced. So he will take on Matt Stairs, lefty versus lefty. Stairs a couple of fly ball outs here tonight against Reyes. And that one is off the catcher's mitt as it was veering in on the hitter. And to second base, representing the tying run, is Reggie Sanders.
That ball got a lot of glove on Yadier Molina, but that's kind of a pitch that he looks like he's maybe crossed up on. The ball just scooted on him in a hurry. It looked like he was maybe looking for a slider, and I think that actually was a breaking ball from Johnson that just didn't break at all, and he threw too hard. Didn't really get on top of that. Molina really crossed up, but they're ruling it a pass ball.
It is a pass ball indeed. That one slithered in for a strike. 1-1. So a little different scenario for Stairs. An extra base hit or a home run obviously would have been able to score Reggie Sanders. Now a base hit can do that with his tremendous speed at second.
This will be the only hitter for Tyler Johnson, good or bad, as Braden Looper is loosening in the Cardinal bullpen. The right-hander Emil Brown on deck. There are a couple of left-handed choices on the bench for the Royals, and Buddy Bell, as this game is now going to turn into a chess match in the last couple of innings.
Johnson's 2-1, in for a strike.
Going to have to hit that hook right here. Some days when you warm up in the bullpen, you just don't have one of your 2 pitches. Johnson not really showing command yet of his breaking ball. Pretty good live fastball. He may throw a fastball here.
Breaking ball, and got him looking. Well, he faced one man, and the job was completed. And Reyes and the Cardinals still lead 1-0 as we go to the 7th.
have a hot pitch brought to you by Hardee's from the left-hander Tyler Johnson as he strikes out his only batter, Matt Stairs. And this is a hot pitch because of the result, which is strike 3. It's not a very good pitch. It's a hanging slider, but it's hot because it got the job done. Tyler Johnson stranding a runner in the Royals 6th.
And the call to the bullpen brought to you by Weber Chevrolet. How about this name? Ambiorix Burgos comes on to do the pitching. Has yet to allow a run in his career in interleague play, so he has been very good in interleague play, but those records, at least the numbers so far, would suggest against the American League, not so good. ERA of over 5.
It's a big guy that throws hard, was actually in the stopper role for a short time, didn't do very well in it. The Royals have really struggled to find a stopper. Elmer Descends is now in that role as he blows that high, hard fastball to John Rodriguez, who's a guy that likes high, hard fastballs. So this is a great matchup here. But the Royals really, since Mike McDougall's kind of up and down career, which has now resulted in him being on the disabled list, they really have not found that stopper.
Fouled away. That caught a piece of into the home plate umpire. 0-2.
They tried Jeremy Affeldt in that role for a period of time, and then have moved him back into the rotation. Feel like he's more comfortable there. They want him there. He's a young guy, left-hander with good stuff. But you can't win in this game without a stop. It just doesn't work.
Past the pitcher. Grudzielanek with that strong arm was able to get the out because of it. 4-3. Good play by Grudzielanek. Part of that double play combination last year for the Cardinals, and a record number of double plays. And here's Yadier Molina 0-2.
Ambiorix.
Ambiorix. You were speaking of closers. Elmer Descends getting that possibility now, who has been in the National League for quite some time as a starter, now with Kansas City. Not good when it's the 20th of May and you're experimenting on how many closers. Popped up on the left side for the shortstop. Blanco.
And of course, when your team is 10-29, you haven't had very many opportunities to actually go to a closer. The Royals off to such a slow start. If you really project this over the course of a full season, that's 121 loss season.
Ooh, you're getting up there with the New York Mets back in 1962.
Their first year of existence.
They were 42 and 120 would be my guess, if memory serves. Casey Stengel, their manager.
Roger Craig was on that team, if I remember.
Roger Craig was the winningest pitcher on that team. He won 10 games. Lost 20. May have lost 24 games.
And was the ace.
And was the ace of the staff. Okay, he won 10 games.
Well, if you lose 110 plus, somebody's got to lose 20 games.
Ooh. There's the ace of the Cardinals staff, who was the beneficiary of a breakout in runs last night. He was able to get the victory, his 4th of the year.
Watching that game from Chris Carpenter just reminds me of, we talked about Tommy Lasorda earlier, what he used to call Oral Hershiser was the bulldog. Chris Carpenter really is a bulldog. He's relentless. He does not give up. Did not have his best stuff, but found a way to win. And you know, he has his best stuff most games. He really is pretty consistent when it comes to his command of his pitches, but he just stayed in the game long enough and got enough outs to come away with a victory. He probably had some other games he should have won and didn't this year, but it's pretty easy to just kind of pack it in and give up, but not for Chris Carpenter.
A strikeout, so a 1-2-3 inning for Burgos. We have stretch time here in Kansas City. Cardinals lead it 1-0. The Matrimonial law firm of Hyas and Callan remind you that this copyrighted telecast is presented by authority of the St. Louis Cardinals LLC. It may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form, and the accounts and descriptions of the game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the Cardinals LLC. Hyas and Callan, they go to bat for you. Interstate 70 just beyond the stadium here, and the Cardinal bullpen busy tonight. This call to the bullpen brought to you by U.S. Cellular. We connect with you, and it's Braden Looper.
Braden's last outing was Sunday against Colorado, and he really has not had a lot of innings of late, so he should be strong. Job of a reliever is to stay ready, and he's got a wonderful opportunity here to throw a couple of important innings to push this game to Jason Isringhausen. And if all goes well, Looper's job is to get through both the 7th and the 8th inning.
It'll be Looper to come on in the 7th. Before we see the first pitch thrown, station identification for you. This is KPLR TV DT St. Louis. Neil Brown will be the first customer, and Tony Graffinino and John Buck. 1 run on 5 hits for the Cardinals. Juan Encarnacion driving in Scott Rowland with the lone run of the game. No runs on 4 hits for Kansas City.
Picking on Tyler Johnson a little bit last inning. He got the strikeout of Matt Stairs, the only batter he faced. That's a big batter in this game, and he'll be the first to tell you it wasn't a very good pitch. There's some days where you throw a good pitch and get bad results, but this was a day where he threw a bad pitch and got a good result.
Rowland throwing on the move, 1 out here in the 7th inning. Cardinals need 8 more. They gain a victory. You said the Royals were struggling, and there's no question on the road in particular. Oh, you're 2-20 away from Kansas City, but they have lost 7 straight games overall. The Cardinals trying to win for their 4th in a row. And against the Royals, the Cardinals have feasted. They've won 8 of the last 9 meetings. But this franchise has been a gem in the American League. I'd like to see it get back to the good old days.
Still have my days where I wonder about interleague play, which is something that's become well accepted now in baseball. It's not, I think, my favorite thing. If Major League Baseball would decide to make interleague play records between the American League and National League decide home field advantage for the World Series, it might have a little bit more meaning to me.
Great play by Rowland on a shot hit his way, and he has been equal to the test on 2 occasions in this inning.
We've seen some nice defensive plays in the ball game here tonight. Short hop by Scott Rowland. Kept his feet moving the whole time. He did not get stationary. He's very smooth the way his feet are moving underneath him. He's got his knees bent, his weight forward, and very smooth fielding third baseman. Scott Rowland always makes the easy plays and often makes the difficult ones.
John Buck swings through that one as Looper's trying to have a fast bottom of the 7th. Great movement on that pitch.
That's a sinker right there. Bottom just dropped out of that pitch from Braden Looper, and it was a hard one.
There is a pitch that misses low, and it's 1 ball and 2 strikes. On the air tomorrow at 1 o'clock, we'll bring you the finale of this 3-game set. Jeff Suppan has been pitching very well against Scott Ellerton, looking for his first win of the year, though he's pitched pretty well. In fact, all 3 starters for Kansas City in this series, not a victory. Not a victory. Suppan will go for his 5th tomorrow. He doesn't pitch with sunflower seeds. He just sits in the dugout with sunflower seeds. Fouled into the catcher's mitt. It is a 1-2-3 inning, and the bullpen in back of Anthony Reyes, letter perfect. 4 up and 4 down. And through 7 on this Saturday night, Cardinals lead it 1-0. So what did you pay to fill your gas tank last week? $30, maybe $40, maybe more. If you want to find some quick relief from soaring gasoline prices, easy way to do it is to watch Friends weeknights at 6, and Everybody Loves Raymond at 6:30 for your chance to win free gas. Log on to WB11TV.com for the official rules.
4 generations of Cardinal fans. There's the younger generation.
And the camera is out as David Eckstein leads it off. Cardinals out in front 1-0. Eckstein has a double in his 3 at-bats tonight. Cardinals have not hit the cover off the baseball, nor have the Royals tonight. Good pitching, solid pitching from the 2 starters, Denny Bautista and Anthony Reyes. And the bullpen's been good for both teams.
Not a lot of strikeouts in the game today, but just 1 walk. And to me, very well pitched game. All pitchers that have been in this game have had pretty good command. And at some point, you just give them the credit. Guy's got a big head right there.
What a perfect night for baseball here in Kansas City. It's almost a tranquil feeling that you get here at this ballpark. I don't know if it's the water. The waterfalls are out there, and left center all the way over to right side. Just a beautiful ballpark. Three-two pitch to the leadoff man, and he walks it. Boy, Eckstein makes you pay the price. That is the first walk issued this evening on this end. There's been a hit batsman, and the Cardinals' lone walk, Anthony Reyes walking Emil Brown, but he got Graffinino to end the 4th inning.
Cardinals hoping for an insurance run. They do have Braden Looper throwing well in the pen, and Izzy for the 9th inning, but just with this 1-run lead, you'd like to push another one across. Scott Spezio in a bunting situation here. Graffinino is in on the grass at third base. Mankiewicz will probably be charging at first base after the pitch comes home. I suspect Spezio will bunt down the first base line. A hit and run is also a possibility.
The way he's been swinging the bat, he had 3 hits last night, has not hit the ball out of the infield tonight. He's 0 for 3.
I think he's a good hit and run candidate because he does a good job of hitting the ball on the ground. I think he can make contact. He's a good contact guy.
Nothing on that one. That one almost sailed to the backstop.
Well, not bunting on that first pitch. I'd say this is an ideal hit and run count right here. Pitcher doesn't want to fool around with Spezio and end up walking him with Albert Pujols, who I guarantee is not bunting. The problem with bunting a runner over is you take the bat out of Albert Pujols' hand. One of the reasons that a hit and run is perhaps a better option.
Eckstein back to the bag.
Shortstop Blanco giving away the hole now. He's playing very tight on the bag at second.
He was swinging. Eckstein was not running.
Well, he wasn't bunting there, nor was he trying to hit the ball on the ground. Scott Spezio was trying to make it 3-0. John Buck with a poor throw earlier in this game gives you a little bit more confidence of perhaps sending Eckstein.
Two and one.
Back to another hit and run count. We talk about hit and run counts. It's generally when a pitcher needs to throw a fastball over the plate, behind in the count, 2-1, 3-1, 2-0, 1-0. They're great hit and run counts. Jose Oquendo flashing the signs from the dugout.
Nobody out runner first. And he got underneath that one. But man, I'll tell you, that's a long run for the outfielders that nobody's there. It's going to dunk in. A great base running by Eckstein as a second baseman. Grudzielanek went out and just kind of stopped. He thought that Costa would be there, but Costa was playing like Babe Ruth was at the plate, about as deep as center field as you could possibly play.
Well, Costa made a couple of nice plays here last night, but doesn't really seem to be seeing the ball very well off the bat. He is charging the ball hard right here, but he was playing so deep, and he also doesn't react quick enough to throw the ball to second base. Almost seemed like if he'd have come up throwing, that Eckstein, even though he was alert, Espizio thinks he's out after he pops that ball up and ends up with a base hit.
A gift hit, but more importantly, that man gets to hit.
It's one of those plays that does not go down as an error, but it's the defensive lapse that could cost the team.
Albert Pujols hitless on the night to this point. Driven to deep center. Away back. Kiss it goodbye. Home run number 21 is safely tucked into the books. And the Cardinals now lead it 4-0.
You can only hold down Albert Pujols so long. 0 for 3 going into this at bat. It's a hanger, and Albert, who's been pulling off just a little bit tonight. And how about this? A curtain call on the road.
I don't think Albert can do that.
That's what they're asking for.
Guess who came out, though, to deke him a little bit? Sidney Ponson. Pujols will not do it.
That would be great insult. He appreciates the fans here.
You bet. And Roland rockets one to right. That's 3 hits in succession following that leadoff walk by Eckstein. And the Cardinals looking for a huge top of the 8th. That's already produced 3 runs for them. Tony La Russa has managed many a game in this ballpark. Pitching coach is going to come out. A tough inning for Burgos, who looked very good in the 7th inning, but has not retired a man in this inning, but should have had the out in shallow center. Home run of the game brought to you by Casino Queen Hotel and Casino.
Another blast for Albert Pujols. Amazing that he has been able to homer in 12 of the 15 series that the Cardinals have played. Talk about power consistency. Albert hits this ball over the 410 sign in dead center field.
And he did it before 40,516, which, by the way, is the largest crowd at Kauffman Stadium since June of 2004, when the Cardinals were here that year. 40,516. Now it's Jim Edmonds.
We talked about this game turning into a chess match late in the game between Buddy Bell and Tony La Russa. I think Buddy Bell just lost a rook, a bishop, and a knight here in the 8th inning, and it makes Tony La Russa's job a little bit easier how he manages the rest of this game.
See some of those other scores around baseball. New York Mets had a 4-0 lead blown in the 9th inning by Billy Wagner, and in 10 innings the Yankees prevailed. And if you missed it, Barry Bonds at number 714 in a day game at the Oakland ballpark against the Athletics. So he has tied the Sultan of SWAT, George Herman Ruth.
And here's the problem when you've got a bullpen like the Kansas City Royals. You're in a ball game, you turn around, and all of a sudden you're out of it. And Burgos is not done yet. It would have been ball 4 to Jimmy Edmonds. Has not retired a batter here in the 8th inning after a 1-2-3 7th.
That's Joe Nelson warming up. Freddie Kendall, former catcher, out there in the bullpen as the coach answering the phone.
That's a bullpen with a big phone bill.
3-2. Freddie Kendall's been associated with Buddy Bell for a long time. Jason Kendall, the fine catcher of the Oakland Athletics. Freddie is Papa, very proud of his son. Played the same position, catcher. So a 3-2 count on Jim Edmonds. Pitcher with one play at first. That puts the runner in scoring position. Scott Rowland. And Juan Encarnacion heading to the plate where he's had success tonight. 2 out of 3, including an RBI double back at the 4th. He hustled a single into a double.
Encarnacion's average starting to climb up to 235. Power numbers still off a little bit of what his career numbers would indicate. But he seems like he's swinging with much more authority than he did the first few weeks of the season. Everything was just so kind of lackadaisical in terms of his approach, and he's swinging well enough that Buddy Bell's going to put him on. First base is open. John Rodriguez, the left-hander. Actually, Taguchi on deck, a defensive replacement for John Rodriguez.
Tell us the length of that Albert Pujols home run, 424 feet. He used to hit home runs farther than that in high school. Not all that far away from here.
There's that smile we keep seeing from Albert. He just really has been a guy that just is playing this game with joy this year. You know, with all of the attention that he's getting, it would be easy to get kind of sour. But not Albert.
Joe Nelson comes on. The Cardinals have a 1-0 lead. 4-0 lead. A 4-0 lead for the visiting Cardinals. So Taguchi, he came in for a little defense with Rodriguez leaving the game. So gets his first at bat going up against the right-hander Joe Nelson. There's 1 out, runners at first and second. We're in the 8th inning. You came into a situation in a game one time. What was that job description, and what was the end result?
My job was to come in to face right-hander Keith Moreland and walk him intentionally. First base was open. Actually, Leon Durham was the hitter, but they pinch hit the right-hander Keith Moreland. I walked him intentionally. That was the only batter I faced. Came out of the game, and I lost it. That's a tough day at work right there.
That's a tough loss. Leon Durham. Forgot all about him. You were brought in to take him out. Keith Moreland did a nice job with the Cubs in those days.
Sure did.
Former Philly.
Tough out.
So Taguchi goes after a pitch in the dirt, and down he goes for the second out. So Nelson gets his initial man at the plate. And Yadier Molina coming up. He's gone 0 for 3 in this one.
Got another chance at a 2-yard RBI. He grounded out the third, hit the ball pretty sharply. Wasn't able to score. Encarnacion in the 4th inning, but boy, take a lot of weight off of this young man's shoulders if he could just pop one in the gap somewhere, get a couple of RBIs, go home tonight, but go back to the hotel, feel like he had a good day offensively.
That one almost sailed away from the catcher, John Buck. You know, I'm thinking about Pujols hitting the 21 home runs. Just take him out of the equation. Just say he's having a so-so year and he has 8 home runs, 9, 10 home runs. There isn't another person in this lineup tonight for the Cardinals who has more than 5. A one-man wrecking crew in many ways offensively. Well, that one is going to be caught this time by Grudzielanek, and that ends the inning. Well, he has carried the weight of this offense to the 20th of May. And on this wonderful night in Kansas City, he does it one more time. Check out STLCardinals.com. They have more live games than anyone else on your personal computer. Where baseball is always on. STLCardinals.com. You can see Albert Pujols hit 3 home runs in a game against the Chicago Cubs, against the Cincinnati Reds. Tune in tomorrow. Who knows what he is in store for the Royals in the finale of this series. Scott Ellerton will be going up against him, a tall right-hander, and Jeff Suppan will go for the Cardinals. 4-0 they lead tonight over the Royals.
It was great what Albert said in our pregame, how he likes coming back to play here in Kansas City. He has fond memories, and kind of interesting that he talked about how they took a pass at him at the option of actually drafting him, and he didn't really say it, but you feel like, wow, bad move on their part.
Well, that was a sensational bunt by Blanco, and very good speed getting him up that baseline. I'll tell you, Pujols, very aggressive, made the right play, and I think Braden Looper did everything in his power to get to first base. It was just an almost impossible play.
Yeah, if you get a good bunt down the line like that, it's a tough play for the pitcher to beat somebody coming out of the left-handed box, especially. He's got to be faster than Blanco, and Albert leads him as well as he can. Now, if Blanco's not sliding, Looper can just turn over and tag him instead of worrying about beating him to the base, but Blanco alertly diving into first base.
Left-handed hitting Shane Costa due up. We are going to go to a break with that man. Randy Flores coming in to take over the pitching chores with the Cardinals leading by 4. Little extra work for the bullpen tonight, Rick.
I'm a little surprised that Tony is having such a quick hook with his pitchers today. Braden Looper just allowing a bunt single, and Randy Flores enters the game. His 16th appearance, hasn't pitched since Wednesday, but Tony must feel, he knows his bullpen, he must feel like he needs to get him some work. I'm just surprised. Looper probably could have either finished this game or at least gone deeper into it. He hadn't had much work himself, but Tony, for reasons I'm sure he's very clear on, felt like he wanted to have Randy Flores face a couple of left-handers, but it isn't really a left-hander he's going to face.
It's going to be Esteban Herman who comes on and do the pinch hitting, a right-hander. Very solid average at 396. Buddy Bell making a move here.
Flores has really become the late inning left-hander. We've seen Tyler Johnson already in this game, and Randy Flores, who was the Tyler Johnson the last couple of years, the first left-hander out of the pen, has really established himself as that guy that Tony likes to use late in the game, mostly because of that pitch right there, that good hard breaking ball that Randy has really developed some consistency with.
Cardinals out in front 4-0. Kansas City batting in the last of the 8th inning.
Flores is a guy that will just throw a lot of breaking balls. Remember Sparky Lyle when he was in his prime? He was just slider, 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 slider. Almost never threw a fastball. And Flores could almost become that kind of pitcher. His slider's that good.
And he got the benefit of the call there. That was an excellent pitch. And he did make that hitter commit. Nice to get a strike when he doesn't get a full swing.
That was a very Sparky Lyle-like slider down and in on a right-hander with good bite.
Nobody out, runner at first. And up the middle, base hit on a 2-2 pitch. So the Royals making it interesting. This is a team that may have lost the substantial amount of games we've talked about, but they don't go quietly. They will battle you. He comes off the bench, Herman. And there's Grudzielanek.
Josh Hancock loosening now in the Cardinal bullpen. Flores, I imagine, will stay in through Minkiewicz. Also has Matt Stairs possibly to work towards, who's in the 6th spot in this lineup. Depending on what happens between now and then, if Flores is able to get the ground ball here for Grudzielanek and have his good defense behind him turn a double play, he may earn a few more batters.
Now the chant, "Let's go Royals," starts to be heard. 2-0. Juan Encarnacion drove in a run earlier in the game. That took place in the 4th. Albert Pujols with a 3-run home run, number 21 in the 8th, top half of this inning. And Flores has fallen behind 3-0.
This certainly is not the way Tony planned this to work out. Decides to make the quick hook on Braden Looper and go with Randy Flores, who hung a pitch to German and is now behind 3-0 on Grudzielanek, who's a dangerous hitter. We know as followers of the Cardinals that Grudzielanek has some power, particularly in the gaps. Jim Edmonds playing him very shallow in center field.
Base hit to left. They're going to send the runner. Taguchi's got a good throw to the plate, but just to the first base side, and having to reach for it in backhanded fashion was Molina. And the runner comes in to score. Blanco, who began the inning with that drag bunt up the first base side, and has paid some dividends. It's a 4-1 game. Tying run comes to the plate, and Doug Minkiewicz, Dave Duncan heading to the mound.
Duncan probably trying to do two things here. Calm his pitcher Randy Flores down as that ball just right down the middle of the plate. Grudzielanek finds the hole. Taguchi charging it hard. Good strong throw home. And Esteban German not able to go to third base. Nice slide from Blanco. But Duncan also buying a little time to make sure that Josh Hancock can get fully ready in that bullpen.
Reggie Sanders would be the man he would face. And here is the lefty coming up, Minkiewicz. He misses wide. Minkiewicz, 2 out of 3 tonight.
Well, either you've got to let Randy Flores work all the way to Matt Stairs, or you're going to have a right-hander get him out.
Great cut there. 1-1.
Cardinal defense deep in right field, in particular for Minkiewicz. Mentioned he doesn't have any home runs on the season. Represents the tying run here against the left-hander Flores.
Great play by Pujols, but it's going to be for naught. It's a foul ball. Angel Hernandez with that call.
Boy, does Randy Flores need a good pitch right here. Not a good evening so far. Buddy Bell's troops done some damage here in the 8th inning. A leadoff bunt single, then a base hit by Esteban German and Mark Grudzielanek have made this game very interesting. Still nobody out in the Royals 8th.
Ball 2, 2-2.
Here's where, as a reliever, you can't hope for something good to happen. You've got to make it happen. You can't hope for a double play. You've got to make that pitch and make him hit the ball on the ground.
He was late on that one, and down he goes. So a strikeout, and that is the first out. It keeps the double play in order. And who's going to be pitching to Reggie Sanders?
Well, you got a decision to make. You either let Flores pitch to Sanders and Matt Stairs, who's got a little pop, or you bring Josh Hancock in, or you go to your stopper for 2 innings. Jason Isringhausen hasn't started to throw. Tony doesn't like to do that with his stopper, but this is the kind of situation for me, as there's currently no action in the Cardinal bullpen.
So Hancock had already warmed up, as you had mentioned, so he is ready. And Dave Duncan's going to come out and make this pitching change. So it's a little bit of a mess that Flores will leave, but he did get the strikeout of Minkiewicz. And now it's Hancock to take on Reggie when we come back.
With
not all that long ago, as you see Josh Hancock warm up, the starter tonight, Anthony Reyes, went 5 2/3 innings, allowing no runs on only 4 hits, a strikeout, and a walk. He threw just 81 pitches, and it was at that point where manager Tony La Russa started to go to the bullpen, and he's dipped into the bullpen a few times.
Tony clearly has wanted to get some work for his relievers and made the decision to have the quick hook with Anthony Reyes and then with Braden Looper, and he's getting them work, but it's a little bit more work than I think they had desired, because now you've got Reggie Sanders with a chance to tie this game. Matt Stairs got a little pop on deck, the left-hander. You're out of left-handers in your bullpen now, and Josh Hancock all of a sudden becomes the central figure in this game.
Reggie Sanders to face him, 1 out of 3 tonight. He is the top home run hitter in the lineup this evening for Kansas City. 4-1 Cardinals.
Brad Thompson must not be one of those guys that needs extra work, as this would be a situation where his sinker would be something that you think would make some sense.
And he starts him off with ball 1. Adam Wainwright, an extended period last night, getting that first major league save. Carpenter was the winner in a 9-6 victory. All of the action kind of coming late in this one. Ball 2.
I still lament the way baseball has really turned, and this isn't a thing that's only the Cardinals do, but the way people have made stoppers unavailable for the 8th inning of ball games. This is the key part of this ball game right here, or could be. And I want my best guy out there.
Reggie bluffs a bunt on 2-0. I don't understand that. Breaking ball, strike.
I don't know if that was a self-imposed take or whether or not he was given the take, but I don't agree with having a guy with the power of Reggie Sanders take a 2-0 pitch 3 runs down in the 8th inning.
He takes strike 2.
Reggie not happy with that call, but that's a pretty good pitch by Josh Hancock right on the inside corner. Busted him with a fastball. Reggie has some susceptibilities to hitting that fastball up and in, but also the breaking ball. But you don't want to hang him. Reggie's one of those interesting hitters. He can't hit a good curveball, but he sure can hit a bad one.
Moments ago, this game was led by the Cardinals 4-0. Royals trying to inch their way back into this game. Taguchi in pursuit, won't get there, up against the boards. Great defensive play, may get it out of the plate. The throw in time, out. Beautiful play. Credit So Taguchi with the defensive gem of the night. He couldn't have played it any better.
Well, Hancock tried to sneak another pass ball by Reggie Sanders. Look how quick Taguchi gets rid of this ball. And Aaron Miles is the one out in left center throwing a strike to the plate. Tony La Russa looks on. He's not happy with this pitch. And he sees that Taguchi not able to make that play, and David Eckstein actually gets the relay and throws a strike home. And the Royals run themselves into an out. It's an aggressive base running play, but you can't blame them.
John Rodriguez, no knock on him. I don't think he makes this play.
No, there's no way he does. So Taguchi just very alertly takes his ball off the wall and, boy, just gets rid of it in a hurry. And that's Eckstein. Aaron Miles is trailing. And a good tag by Yadier Molina. Clearly out at home plate. Good break for the Cardinals.
Tying run still at the plate now with Matt Stairs. And as you mentioned, it will be Hancock who has to get him.
Now you have the option of putting the tying run on base with a left-hander, or at least being careful with him. Take your chances with Emil Brown. I'm sure that's going through Tony La Russa's head right now. I don't want Matt Stairs to beat me, the lefty. A little more pop than Brown, I would say. Both of them have 3 home runs.
Dangerous pitch there. 3-0. A pronounced shift defensively to the right side.
That relay is a throw that Mark Grudzielanek would have been the one making that throw had he still been a Cardinal. Grudzielanek, one of the stronger arms of any second baseman I've ever seen, but David Eckstein strong enough to get Grudzielanek at the plate. Bang, bang play.
Miles will secure it. The out recorded, and the Royals did score 2, but they had a man thrown out of the plate on a great play by So Taguchi. It carries us to the 9th. Esteban Herman will remain in the game and play center field. Elmer Descends, we had mentioned he's taken over the closer role, will work in the 9th inning of what is a 4-2 Cardinal lead. 5 runs tallied in the 8th inning by these two teams. The 3-run home run by Albert Pujols, the difference right now. And Aaron Miles will step in against Descends. A great statistic will bear out what you were talking about, Rick, and talking about the closer and how much that role has changed significantly in innings. You look back to Goose Gossage, we had the conversation with Tony La Russa and Hal McRae tonight about Goose Gossage, and to a person they each said, why isn't he in the Hall of Fame? He was the most dominant force in his era. In 1978, really in the prime of his career, 134 1/3 innings for your closer. And he had just 27 saves that year. So he would always come on, it seemed like, in the 8th inning.
The year Bruce Sutter set the save record for the Cardinals in 1984. He was so good that year. He pitched 122 innings out of the bullpen. He often was used for 2 innings. And really a stopper nowadays will pitch what, 50, 60 innings max. So really you've got your best guy out there twice as much over the course of the season. Now I guess the question would be, are all stoppers that durable to be able to stay out there and do that? Not everybody is. Bruce Sutter was very unique.
There's one out. Out of the WB11 studios, Jeff Bernthal will have this update coming up on the news for us. We have one out here in the 9th inning. David Eckstein, whose relay throw gave Yadier Molina enough time to catch it and get that tag of the runner coming in. Mark Grudzielanek, who is a very, very good base runner, had a head-first dive at the plate, but he was out. Well, it's amazing what leather and arms can do defensively behind a pitcher.
In quickness, in alertness, both Taguchi and Eckstein got rid of the ball very quickly. That's the only reason that relay worked. Jason Isringhausen loosens, he'll pitch the ninth.
The degree in which Taguchi played that off the wall and did get that throw in was about as fast as you can. That's off the foot of the pitcher. Barehanded effort. Eckstein beats it out. He has his second hit of the night. That was a terrific play, but the most important one to this point was in the bottom of the eighth.
Now this is going to be a bang play at home plate. Look at the time save there. Quick turnaround, toss, hits Eckstein chest high. He gets rid of it in a hurry, and it's bang. You take a half a second longer and he's safe.
A one-hop throw to the plate for Molina. The presence of mind to dig it out and apply that tag. Critical play. So the infield hit for Eckstein, and Spezio, the human bridge to Albert Pujols right now. Give him a chance to hit. Single ahead of Pujols back at the eighth.
Well, you never have enough runs. We say that all the time late in the game. The Cardinals had this game well in hand with a 4-zip lead, and the Royals battled back in the eighth with 2 to make it tight, and really had the tying run at the plate on numerous occasions in that eighth inning. Never have enough runs.
2-0 to Spezio. Elmer descends, the pitcher, a former starter in a new role, and an old nemesis. Spezio dangerous with this count.
Another hit and run count.
Can you believe that? 3-0. Three and one. Cardinals have left 7 men on the bases. They have scored 4. 3-2. Now what do you do with Eckstein at first?
I think you send him. Stay out of the double play. One thing for sure is you want Albert to have another chance to hit.
That's fouled out of play.
Eckstein was running on the pitch. The only thing you open yourself up to is to strike him out, throw him out. But there are probably 40,516 people in this ballpark that would like to see number 5 have another turn at the plate.
I know Tony La Russa would.
He's not even counted in that number, is he?
No. That's an everyday occurrence. It's called strike 3. There's your throw out. Double play. 2-6 with a shortstop covering. And Pujols will not bat in the 9th inning. He gets his glove here momentarily. It'll go out defensive.
Let's go back to the rotation.
Cardinal Baseball on WB11 brought to you by Southwest Airlines. With more flights to more places than ever before, Southwest is taking low fares farther. By Busch, smooth Busch beer and easy drinking. Busch Light. By Dobbs, St. Louis's #1 choice for tires and auto service. By Chevy, see your Mid-America Chevy dealer today. By Toyota, visit your St. Louis area Toyota dealers. And by American Furniture and Electronics, St. Louis's headquarters for HD TV. Jason Isringhausen comes on to work the 9th inning, a save situation. He has racked up 7 straight saves for the Cardinals. We mentioned Lee Smith earlier, Bruce Sutter, and so many of the other Cardinal closers. Right now, Isringhausen ranks 2nd behind Lee Smith. He is 7 away, and he's trying to make this a win for Anthony Reyes, who came up from Memphis to make this start, and he had a great game tonight. There's a strike to Emil Brown, down 2, swinging to the first pitch.
Cardinal fans hoping that Jason Isringhausen fares a little bit better than the Cardinal relievers before him. They came up with a couple of good pitches, did Randy Flores and Josh Hancock, but not before the Royals put up a 2-spot in the 8th inning. Izzy sure has gotten better of late. I like his stuff. Seems like he's got a little bit more life. Seems like he has a little more confidence, which of course those two things go together. You feel good about your pitches, you feel good about yourself. But he has really pitched well the last couple of weeks.
He hit the zenith of his season, I thought, on Wednesday night, saving that game from Mark Mulder. 1-0. Came in with the bases loaded, 1 out. Got David Wright and Cliff Floyd to end it. And that by far, out of a very good year to this point, was his best. And he's fallen behind 3-1. Emil Brown came out swinging to start the inning, and since that swing, 3 have missed the strike zone by Izzy.
Yachty telling Izzy just to relax, key back just a tad.
I can't believe he's swinging on that 3-1.
Questionable strike right there, kind of up in the zone. Kind of an odd at bat so far for Emil Brown. Worked at the 3-2. I suspect Izzy's got to go right at him with a fastball here.
4-2, Cardinals leading at the start of the 9th inning, bottom half. He walked it. That's only the 2nd walk issued in the game by the Cardinals pitching staff. Albert Pujols over to talk with Izzy.
Notice Albert doing that a little bit more often with Izzy, particularly. I almost think maybe they've got a little thing going between the two of them. When Izzy was struggling, Albert spent a lot of time on the mound trying to just pump him up a little bit, and perhaps there's a communication that Izzy likes that comes from Albert in terms of his confidence. But Albert wasted no time in visiting his stopper.
Tell you, they're coming out here swinging. Graffinino misses on a cutter. One thing missing in my scorecard has been the double play.
See if we can help you out with that right here.
You ask and you shall receive. 2 outs. I've got that as a 6-4-3. How about you?
Well, David Eckstein comes up with just what the doctor ordered. Eckstein takes it himself. Yeah. Brown comes in very hard at second base. Almost flips Eckstein. Brown did come up to him and say, was that clean? David said no problem with it. He appreciates a good hard baseball because that's the way he plays the game. And Jason Isringhausen, big pitch, getting Tony Graffinino to hit the ball on the ground, and now you can put a double play in your scorecard.
I had 6-4-3, and I have to mark off the 4, though.
Yeah, that's okay. I know you're excited to have it on there.
That was put in the book as that pitch was being delivered. But Eckstein just messed up a little bit of the orchestration of that. I thought that's what he might do. Paul Bacco now pinch hitting for John Buck. A high strike.
Looking for save number 14.
Cardinals trying to win for their 4th consecutive timeout. And trying to extend the losing streak to the Royals to 8 in a row. Just outside, 1-2.
Yachty wanted to throw a curveball on the first 0-2 pitch. See if he comes back to it. He does. Izzy still doesn't want it. Still wants to throw that cutter.
A foul ball.
I think Yachty's going to suggest it again. Again, the catcher is a suggester. Izzy's got to throw the pitch he's comfortable with. He threw a great curveball. Tony not happy about something. Maybe he wants him to throw the curveball too. Let's see if he'll say yes this time. All right. Curveball. 3rd straight time. Yep. Gonna listen to me this time.
He got him. He struck. And Molina tags him out. The strikeout will end it. So he got the double play after the leadoff walk. He gets the strikeout of Baco. And the Cardinals get the victory. Today's play of the game brought to you by Budweiser. Bright, crisp, clean, pure. This is Budweiser. This is beer. This was the 8th inning.
No doubt about this becoming the play of the game. Important at the time, but even more so when the Royals mounted a comeback in the 8th inning. It's Albert Pujols with yet another home run.
In the Battle of Missouri, this one belongs to St. Louis.
Why doesn't